let's talk Paul Dano and the Joker and the Riddler and Heath Ledger and what I see as a connection between these characters. One of the things about this is I tend to be very cynical when it comes to Hollywood, especially the press. And I see a lot of like titles like this, and it calls back to something I remember very vividly from when I was much younger. So this says, The Batman's Paul Dano shares why he had trouble sleeping while playing the Riddler. The Batman is giving us our first live-action Riddler on film in a long time. Although Fox's Gotham delivered a portrayal of the Riddler, a very popular portrayal of the oh my god. It is definitely a Sunday. Let's start again. So it says, although Fox's Gotham delivered a popular portrayal of the Riddler several years ago, we haven't seen a live-action take on the supervillain on film in some time. Not since Jim Carrey's version in Batman Forever. This finally changes in a few weeks with the release of The Batman, which features Prisoners star Paul Dano playing the Riddler opposite Robert Pattinson's Bruce Wayne and Batman. It's clear from the Batman's trailers that this is a significantly different version of the antagonist than we're used to seeing. And Dano has revealed that he had trouble sleeping during the time he and Matt Reeves helmed this movie. Now, does that surprise you? I don't know Dano's history, if he's a method actor or how deep into his roles he gets. You don't need to look that up. It's kind of irrelevant to the point I want to make in this article, which I think is very, very... maybe it's my own cynicism, but it says, rather than being depicted as a flamboyant opponent garbed in bright green with question mark covered suit, Paul Dano's Riddler in the Batman is a Zodiac killer inspired serial killer who's picking off Gotham's elite citizens and leaving taunting messages behind for the Cape Crusader and the Gotham Police Department. As Dano recalled to EW, so Entertainment Weekly, the role took its toll on him, and there were a handful of scenes that messed with his sleeping during the shoot. In his words, there's a sequence with Peter Sarsgaard's character, the Gotham City District Attorney, Gil Colson, that was intense. There was some nights around I probably didn't sleep as well as I would have wanted just because it was a little hard to come down from the character. It takes a lot of energy to get there. And so you almost have to sustain it once you're there because you're going up and going down is kind of hard. What's funny about that is like, this is true of any type of entertainment. Even when we record these podcasts, it's not the same thing as talking about this stuff in a living room. You're still looking at a camera. You're still doing it because you want to give the best performance. I don't know if you think of it like that. Like, you're kind of like, whatever. Like, you're very chill about it. I feel like I have to be very on when I'm doing this stuff.
Well, I think it's because I got over like the whole ism with like the camera being in front of you.
It's the energy. It's not the camera doesn't bother me. It's the energy you have to sustain because the camera's there. Like, there's a difference in how I present this information to you while we're doing this. Wouldn't be the same as the information if we were just discussing this article downstairs in the living room. It's still a performance, even though you're not playing a character, you're still performing. Anyway, does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. And plus, you're doing most of the reading, so I understand what you mean from there.
So imagine, now take that, and you have to portray a very, very vicious, violent, or deranged person. And I can see how somebody who takes their job very seriously, looking to get inside the mind of someone that is not them, that is objectively not who they are in the real world, I can see that taking a toll. Because like when we're done recording, even just doing this, which is not anything that serious, it's just us, doing this show, I kind of feel this come down. I'm like, I feel that. So I can understand this. So it says, Paul Dano's Riddler definitely looks like he could go down as one of the creepiest villains in the Batman movies, if not rank at the top of the list. So with all that work the actor poured into the performance, it makes sense why he'd have trouble relaxing after the day's work is done. However, not all of Dano's restlessness issues during the Batman were related to his acting. As a part of the homemade, very intense costume Paul Dano's Edward Nashton puts together in the Batman, the actor realized that his character should never should cover himself in plastic wrap so that he doesn't leave any DNA evidence at his crime scenes. Matt Reeves, who also co-wrote the movie script with Peter Craig, was game for this, but after about an hour, Dano got incredibly hot under the mask, to the point that Reeves remembers his face being beet red. Dano explained. Like, I'm having a really hard time reading today.
Yeah. It's okay. It's a Sunday.
I'm having a really hard time reading today, guys. I apologize. It says, my head was just throbbing with the heat. I went home that night after the first full day in that, and I almost couldn't sleep because I was scared of what was happening in my head. It was like compressed from sweat and the heat and the lack of oxygen. It was a crazy feeling. Now, the reason I'm bringing this up is because it's not about his article. It's about what the title says, which says it's talking about him having trouble sleeping. And then I remembered this story about Heath Ledger talking about his physical and mental draining descent into the mind of the Joker.
Yeah.
Now, the reason I think that this is somewhat exploitative is that everyone knows what happened to Heath Ledger, the fashion in which he passed, how things went, and he died of a combination of, if I remember correctly, it was a combination of opiates, meaning hydrocodone, and sleeping pills like Zolpidem or Ambien. So I feel like when they write these articles, right, they're calling back to this on purpose because they know that this will resonate with people and they think of it as like great marketing for the movie. Now, I don't know if the actor feels that way. He's just telling you his experience, what happened with him.
Yeah.
But it does bother me. This is an old article from Heath Ledger. This is written in 2020 where they kind of do a retrospective take on it. It says, actor Heath Ledger's death due to an accidental overdose forever cast a shadow on the film The Dark Knight, in which Ledger played the Joker opposite Christian Bale's Batman. Rumors at the time suggested that playing the iconic villain had affected the actor. Like, I've heard different takes on this. Some have said that he was able to slip in and out of the character easily and it wasn't actually a problem. Others say that he always had trouble sleeping and that was an issue for him. So it says, this was dispelled in a recent documentary about the actor, which involved several of his family members. He was having fun. He wasn't depressed about the Joker. His sister said, however, the lengths to which he went to play the character have been well documented. So he was a professional. He wasn't a method actor. He was able to slip in and out of the character. He wasn't letting it affect him that way. But that doesn't sell magazine covers and that doesn't sell ads on websites.
Yeah,
right?
for sure. It kind of reminds me of the actor for Pennywise. He has the same problem too.
That was Skarsgård, right?
Yeah.
What happened?
Basically, like he said, there was like rumors also that basically playing that character kind of affect him a lot because like he was really into that character.
See, I don't know how much of it is the actor actually saying that and how much of it is these papers like using it as a way of marketing their magazines, their newspapers, their websites. Like they know that when I read this, I'm going to think back to that character, not just because they're both Batman villains, but it's a tragic event in human history. Like that, it's a tragic event in American cinema history, right? So, like my very, very cynical side thinks they're doing it knowing that people are thinking about that, and that sucks to me. So it says, luckily for Dan, I did like this ending to it. It says, luckily for Dano, the Batman's costume department found a way to get more oxygen into the mask so that he'd be a little bit more comfortable. Overall, though, playing the Riddler was clearly a demanding experience for him, but it had paid off in the long run. Dano also said that he was really enjoying it, being able to act in a superhero movie. Yeah, he doesn't have like the typical look of somebody who would be in a superhero movie.
Yeah.
So him getting to play such a different take on an iconic villain, which is typically more silly, and getting to play it very serious, I think is very cool and works for him. So it says, the Batman will also see its eponymous protagonist clashing with Colin Farrell's Oswald Cobblepot, the Penguin, who's leading his own HBO Max series. That one I'm actually excited about. And allying with Zoe Kravitz, who plays Selena Kyle as Catwoman. I did see an article today that said she was encouraged on set to be less cat-like.
Oh, really?
I don't know what that means. I didn't even. I was like, oh, that's interesting. I don't know if that's enough that we'll cover it as a topic, but what the hell does that even mean to be less cat-like?
Well, like Catwoman's whole demeanor is like acting like a cat because she's a cat burglar.
I know, but like, what does that mean? Does that mean the way she talks? Because Michelle Pfeiffer's voice when she portrayed Catwoman in Batman was very, very iconic and different. And the same thing for
Halle Berry.
Yeah, for Halle Berry, like it was a very unique. I mean, it was an awful. I hated that performance, but it was very unique. It was very much supposed to be like fingers going like this and stuff like that. So, we'll see what comes of this. I just didn't like the fact that because they talk about it. It was in the Heath Ledger documentary where they talk about he always had trouble sleeping.
Yeah.
So they want to connect it to the Batman because they want to make it think that it was because of the role because that sounds interesting and different.
Yeah.
And I'm just not a huge fan of that.
I don't know because like the whole Pennywise actor, like I only saw it through YouTube because like there was like top 10 what actors played a certain role that changed them forever.
Yeah, see,
And-
that segment alone tells you how much people love to read and watch stuff like that.
Yeah.
So go on.
So basically for him, it was that one. Basically him playing as Pennywise.
Who are some of the others? Do you remember any of them?
I don't
off the top of your
remember
head?
them.
Okay.
But most of them were like villains.
Yep. Oh yeah, I'm sure. Playing the good guy's boring.
Yep.
A documentary featuring Heath Ledger's father Kim shed some light on the notes the actor made in his diary. Glimpses of the little journal showed images of hyenas, pictures of the character Alex DeLarge from the film A Clockwork Orange, and a handwritten dialogue. The final page of the diary had words "bye bye" written in large letters. It was hard to read that, Kim Ledger said in the documentary. He galvanized the upcoming character. That was typical of Heath. He would do that. He liked to dive into characters, but this time he really took it up a notch, Ledger's father added. So it says, director Christopher Nolan said in an interview that Ledger studied ventriloquist dummies for the role as they terrified him. He also workshopped various versions of the Joker's voice and laugh. He told Empire it was important to try and find a somewhat iconic voice and laugh. I ended up landing more in the realm of a psychopath, someone with very little to no conscience towards his act. So you see both sides of the story from here. So some say that he got really far into it, but like you said, his sister said that it wasn't like that he was able to get in and out of the character. I've heard both versions of that, but the point is the media plays it up to use against, not against people, but to make themselves more money. And I'm not a huge fan of that as a practice. So
I don't know. They just do it because they know what makes people want to click the articles and videos more. Like for me, for sure, I clicked on that video because I was like, what are you talking about? Yep.
That's, I think it's because people like it, the idea of it, not because they think the person's going to get hurt, but like they like the idea of people who are so dedicated to their work and love their job so much that they're willing to immerse themselves into something so dangerous or mentally, not dangerous, but mentally taxing on themselves. So even me, like I'm enamored with that type of idea. I just don't like the idea of the media using it to sell paper, to sell copy. So thanks for watching this clip, guys. If you want to see full episodes or follow us on social media, links are in the description below. Bye.
Bye.